Well, hello, good afternoon, or good morning to you wherever you are listening from. I'm DJ Paul for Tottenham HotSpur USA and the Rude Boy Sound. And this is the video, the official video after the window was closed that came from Tottenham HotSpur's PR shop. And I have my doubt to some of the things that were said, and I also try to be a little bit more lenient in my criticism that may never make it here in this video. But at the same time, you want to get an understanding beyond what you think you know or why you think certain things are not happening. And so I'm going to split this video down the line and jump in and give you my take in both segments as I give you the introduction. Just to open you up a bit, is that I think that Johan Lange, right off the bat, based on videos and stuff that I've said in the past, so I'm predisposed to my opinion on Lange because I think he's not the man for the job. And also Rob McKenzie and the backroom staff, I think, do not have a plan. All of that being said, that is my opinion. That's what's out there on social media. So it gives me the platform to which I jump off my own thinking, my own opinion. And so what I'm going to do is roll that back a bit and listen to what he has to say, and I will interject somewhere about 4 minutes into it. I think I can split it down the line and give you my opinion. So I'm taking the emotional feelings that I have towards Lange, towards the club, towards everything that's happening, and just concentrate on what is being said and what are the facts of these videos to see if it matches the reality of what was done since the window was closed or before the preparation, what's the plan, all of those good stuff. So I'm going to give him the opportunity to convince me otherwise or explain to me why certain things did not happen. So let's take a look at what or listen to what Lange is saying, and I will jump back in and give you my thoughts on that.
Johan, thank you for sitting down with us so quickly after the window closed. I think it's so good to be able to have this dialogue with fans and actually be able to let them in a little bit into the transfer window. I think they're understanding of the fact that the summer is where the bulk of deals get done and January is a very, very different window. But with that in mind, could you give us a little bit of insight and your summary of how we got on over the course of the last month?
Yeah, firstly, this is always an interview I enjoy doing because I think this gives me and us a great opportunity to communicate directly with the fans around the transfer periods. I saw this window here as one of the more quieter January windows across not only the Premier League but across football in general. I think there were, including free transfers, 33 transfers across the Premier League. That is a result of especially the new format in Europe. Now we have clubs competing in either Champions League or Europa League during December and of course during the last part of January as well. 48 teams, can you say, progressing further in the European competitions after the window. And I think we saw that a little bit last year, and I think we saw even more this year that have changed the dynamic a little bit of the January transfer window, where just less business is being done. And of course, a knock-on effect of the increased fixture schedule is also that not only us, but a number of clubs would say that they have too many injuries, and that meant that there was simply not many available players across the whole marketplace during January.
As you mentioned, I mean, there are a lot of injuries in January, and we're definitely a club that is suffering with those at the moment. Can you just give me an insight into how that affects your planning and how that changes things? Because I'm sure there'll be a number of fans that would have been hoping to see something potentially in light of the fact that we have so many players out.
Yeah, of course, when you go into January, we didn't anticipate that we will have 7 injuries during the month of January. So that, of course, changes things during the course of the window. it's very important, even though that is highly frustrating with all the injuries, to do remain disciplined, because A, the players are coming back, and B, if you then, can you say, go in and make a stress purchase of any football players, then yes, the immediate feeling gives you is nice, but of course there's no point in signing players that will not help us in the short term, in the medium term, or even in the long term. So even though that is highly frustrating with all the injuries, the majority of the players will return this season here, hopefully a few very soon, and it is important as a club to remain disciplined and make sure to do our best ability only to sign players that can generally help the team now or in the future.
Sorry about that. I have my mic muted. There are a lot to unpack here, and some of the things that I heard coming out from Lange, it's not disturbing. It is more of an reaction or bringing to light some of the things that affects the plan. If there was a post summer plan that should lead us into January. So what I'm not hearing is that these were our objectives going into January. And one of those things actually happens to be what would be the state of the club. What were the case of, say, injuries, knowing that our past 3 to 4 seasons we have had a litany of injuries. So while I might say this video as it is heavily redacted. It is heavily edited. So there are things that may have been said that they choose not to bring. But I can't address that. I have to address exactly what he's saying. And what he was saying at the beginning of the video is that UEFA has thrown a wrench in everybody's planning. And that is having scheduled games of importance during the Europa and Champions League and Conference League tournament. So you have a litany of clubs that are involved, of which the matches are important to the club, and positioning and wanting to remain and progress in Europe is important. So it makes it very, very difficult for us to go out there and sign players. Now, I know what you all are saying, but we have used that before. But this is a reality, and even if in the past we have used it that tournaments prevented us from signing players, I think this is a legitimate case to have, and this needs to be addressed by the boards, by the clubs, with UEFA, that you can put either you extend it into February after you finish with the group stages, right? Or you just don't have a window at all, because it just don't make any sense of being tied down with players that are involved, and you can't bring them into your squad. You can't register them. Doesn't matter how you bring them in. Once those players are tournament tied, you can't bring them in. So therefore, what you're asking clubs to do is give you their players who are playing in Europe, or you giving them your player who are playing in Europe to come and help you domestically. And what's the sense in that? That doesn't make any sense at all. So in that case, I will take his point and I will say, yes, he has a legitimate point, but that still didn't stop him from addressing the injuries. There are many, many players that are out there, and we did not see that effort, or the effort was there. It was not communicated. It was just the same old argument that they have every year. We are trying. We are trying is never good enough. You are paid to do. So therefore, if there's things that are incumbent on that happening, then that needs to be a clear communication. So maybe we don't have a spending issue or the inability to go out there and get players. Maybe we just have a communication issue, and that is where I will take issue with him. I'm going to the injuries are kind of self-contained. I think he's going to talk about that later on, so I'm going to jump back into the video and listen to what he has to say. Here we go.
that's really interesting. That you, in this period, have to, even in the face of what we're going through at the moment with injuries, and Europe has been brilliant. We've struggled a little bit more in the Premier League. That you still have to maintain that discipline.
Yeah, I think again it's for a number of reasons. As a first, a lot of our injured players they will return, in this season here. Hopefully, a number of them quite shortly. It's also, there are also some limitations to how many players you can have in a squad to register them. But even though that our financial situation under the rules are better than most clubs, and we have owners who are very willing to invest, then of course it is important that we are under those rules. So it is important that we sign the right players. I think also Thomas has been quite public around a couple of players that we did try to bring in this window here. But it was definitely not because of lack of willingness for the club to make the investment to support the teams.
Is it a case?
Yeah, that's not good editing, but let's just put a pause on that right there. I'll get back our role. He didn't say anything much. It was just going into the question. So let me just address that because there are some information that are coming out of this that I think we should learn and we should understand. I myself learned a thing or two. Like I said, I am not here to judge what Lange is saying, but take on board what he's trying to explain. Do you agree with him or not is also a conversation for another day. And the reason why I'm saying that, take for example, he's saying that, you know what, we still have the spending power. And therefore, even though we have the spending power under the rules, we are not going to just go out there and spend for the sake of spending if we can find players or a player that is going to help us in the immediate. I think what he referenced when he talked about what Thomas Frank has said, you can look at players like Semenyo and Savinia and also Roberts are players who would be able to help us in the immediate, because Roberts himself would not be able to help us in Europe, but with his experience, it would not have made a difference because he wasn't going to play every day. So he was a good platoon player to bring in at the cost. That one fell apart. Brennan Johnson going out was a misnomer. There's nothing to really tie that to Kenneth Gallagher coming in because of the injuries. Those are those transactions that you say, hey, a club is supposed to be able to make those transaction under any type of circumstances. You have injuries, you have Gallagher is available, go get him. Brennan Johnson's access to requirement because at the time Kudus was healthy, you ship him out. Those are just rudimentary stuff that are supposed to happen. But here's a kicker inside there, and this is for fans who I think are talking beside the point. And there is something that is very important inside of what he just said. Well, in terms of us getting players in, is that the FIFA 24-25 rule actually stated that you can only have 4 registered players, and are maybe the Premier League adopted that rule from FIFA. That was their option. Maybe, I don't know the full extent of the rule, but what you have in the Premier League is that the Premier League is going to give you 4 players that you can register on loan and at any point, but you can only have 2 active players on your roster. Right, and you can't have a goalkeeper. You can only have a goalkeeper from a registered. 1 goalkeeper you can have registered from outside. And also in that narrative or in the rules is that you obviously can't have 2 players from the same club. Those are those things that the whole loan rule actually allow you to do. You can have 6 to 8 first teamers leaving your club. So those are the things that surround the loans. One of the things that we keep saying is that when you look at Ademola Lookman, fans are saying just go out there and get him on loan. We know that Atalanta don't want to loan him to Spurs. Spurs. There's something between Atalanta and Spurs is that they want to sell him to Spurs. Why that could not happen? Spurs were not interested in buying him, even if they were interested in him. So this is where the rules sort of handicap you in what you want to do. In order to get Lookman in, if that's what we were going to do, would have to send back Kolo Muani or Palhinha. Obviously, we would not have sent back Palhinha, so it would have to be Kolo Muani. And therefore, that is where the rules, like I said, handcuff you to what you can do in the market. So we need to make sure that we understand that we can have more than 2 players on the active roster in any year. We can have up to 4. So I think if you send one back, then you can pull from that. At some point, you can get 4 in, but you can only have 2 who is active on your roster. Those are the rules. I don't think Lange is making up the rules. He's just saying that from where he's sitting, these are some of the factors into signing players. So I hope we understand that when we start to talk about why we are not getting players in and what the impacts are based on what UEFA is doing, based on our ability to buy, and also that the schedule and the rules of transfer does impact how we do business. It's a very, very what I would call contentious way to explain it, because we have been a victim of our own doings in the past, and therefore all these factors culminating into one that is affecting us in this window. I would say bad luck or bad planning. I just think it's something that we also have to look into. Whether you want to agree with me or not, I think those are also factors. But at the end of the day, I don't think this administration makes you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. That's just my opinion anyway. So let's listen to the rest of it as they talk about the projection for what is going to happen in the summer. I know we have the term, we're always, the next window. And part of this conversation is what I was feeling from what he's saying. But let me not preempt what he's about to say and listen to the end, and I'll come back with my take. Oh.
No, I think it's a bit of both.
Let me just roll it back. Give me a second here. Give me a second. Let me pull it back.
But it was definitely not because of lack of willingness for the club to make the investment to support the teams.
He did said that already, and I'm just running through it. But let me just let it run. Bear with me, and the video will run to the end, and I will come back at the end.
Is it a case of there perhaps is not that many players of that level of quality that are available in this window, or is it a case of wanting to ensure that it's a long-term strategy?
No, I think it's a bit of both, because we're very clear before the window that if there was players available that we were able to sign in this window that could help the team now, but of course also in the future, then we were ready to go. But when during the window, you can see that some doors remain open, like for instance with Connor, some other doors closes. Then it's very important that you don't force yourself into make a stress purchase, because that normally doesn't end well for anyone.
Can we talk a little bit about Connor, because he is the epitome of what you mentioned, right? Ready now, comes straight into the team, has already had an impact. You can see that he's a great cultural fit too. What did you like?
Let me just put a pause on this here. I'm going to roll this tape because there are things that he's saying as far what we know that much about Conor Gallagher. So I'm going to just scrub through here and take you towards the end of the conversation. Here we go.
His energy, his quality in midfield, his work rate, the way he can drive a team forward is something that I'm sure will help us. We already seen that from day one, and then of course as a character, he's a fantastic human being. He's a leader. He has been captain earlier in his career, and he's somebody that really will be an important voice in the dressing room this season here and in many seasons to come.
Let's talk a little bit about Soja as well, and I do want to broaden this out because it's been a part of the philosophy and a part of the plan for a long time for you now to make sure that we're bringing in some of the best young players from around the world. Can you just tell us a little bit about him and what the plan is for him?
Yeah, so Sousa is a player we've followed for quite a long time in Brazil, in Santos for the Brazilian youth national teams. So he's a player with a very high ceiling. Of course, it will take a period for him to adapt to English football, as it does for most players coming here. But again, a player with a very high with a very high potential, and a player we're looking forward to develop in the years to come.
Yeah, I always think it's so interesting hearing about that pipeline and the way that we're managing talent. Can you tell us a little bit about the squad profile at the moment? Are you happy with the current profile of the squad and what we have at Thomas's disposal?
Yeah, there's no hiding away. We have too many injuries at the moment, but we have, you can say, over the last period here, brought in players who are made more ready from day one. Obviously, Palinha, big Premier League experience. Kudos, big Premier League experience. Kulmwani, experience for the highest level. Xavi, great experience for Champions League with Leipzig, and now Connor coming in. So we have, can you say, recruited players who can make an immediate impact in the team. And then we need to find the right balance, because we also need to have players in the pipeline as well. And that is what you see in every club. It's a combination of buying players who are ready here now, is buying those, can you say, younger players, and then of course your own academy players as well. And if you take some of the first team starters now, Udochi came in and was on loan, and Papesak came in and was on loan, and Lucas came in from Sweden, etc. So it's something that we do at our club, and it's something that all clubs do across the Premier League.
Yes, I understand, and I apologize, but I want you to actually hear what he has to say. And everything there was pretty much tied into the philosophy of how the club is supposed to be operating. That's what he's saying. So I gave you the chance to hear that if you have not seen or heard it before coming from him. But if you notice that everything that he does, he ties it into all the injuries and stuff that we're having. I don't buy it, because when you have 3 first teamers that you're moving around and loan, and start having players that were being injured at the beginning of January, then you should have adjusted. You should have been more flexible in adjusting who you're sending out on loan, and maybe they're not going, based on what he said, is lumping these players I'm going to name as players who cannot help you in the immediate. And therefore, he's saying that, well, it's important that we continue with the plan and sending them further out, bringing them back and then further sending them out on loan. You're talking about Yang, Takai, and Solomon. You have injuries. There are 2 attacking players that's there. We lost the same amount, including Brennan Johnson, that we sold. We brought a midfielder in, and so to say that you couldn't find help, but yet you sent 3 players that were in-house and loan, I just think that is mismanagement, and that is the reason why I want you to hear that, because I think they were not flexible enough to keep those bodies in. I think it was more focusing on saying that, look, we could not do anything, we could not have any transactions because those players are coming back. What if they don't come back? Then you're going, those stress signing that you're talking about, you are going to put stress on the rest of the squad, because it's obvious that we advance in Europe. It's obvious that the stress itself of trying to make it up the Premier League ladder means that you're going to have to play with more intensity. And if you play with more intensity with the same players, then you're going to risk the injuries. And that is where I think Lange, in my opinion, not putting no emotions in it, just telling you that I don't buy that part of it. I think that part of it is more mismanagement and miscalculation of what we could have done with players who we have in-house. We could have seek more help and for solution based on those 3 players that we sent back out on loan, or even recalling more players that we have. The academy is not up there where we can pluck players. Byfield, I think, is the only one that's there and is prominent right now. So we still would need help that we can't get from the academy. So I don't buy that. And I totally disagree with the approach when we could try to get internal help. If it's even for practice and training, so the guys could go lighter, but you still be able to put what you want to put in place, if you get what I mean. Because what you're going to do is that you're going to bring academy players to practice to make up the numbers with the senior guys, but at the same time, they don't have a chance of running out on the weekend. And therefore, if you have those lone players coming back, being a part of a squad, there are chances that they could be a part of the match day fixture. So I don't buy what he's saying. Let's listen to what he has to say towards it, and I'll come back and I'll wrap it up right there.
Just finally, Johan, I'd love to get into the summer, because fans will want to know what the strategy is, what we're potentially looking at in terms of the summer window and the types of players that you're looking for this summer.
The summer market is where 8 or 9 out of 10 players, they move the club. So we will go into the summer window with big ambitions of strengthening the team. We know there'll be more movements. We know there'll be more opportunities. So the plans are already, can you see, drawn up. We have a clear picture of which position and also which profiles. And could we have brought 1 or 2 more in this January window, we would have been delighted to do so. But that was not a possibility. So we are looking forward to the summer. Now we focus on the rest of the season, and that is very, very important as well, because we have big objectives. We're still in the Champions League. We want to, of course, be higher in the Premier League, and then myself and others will have our eyes already now directed towards the summer transfer window.
Yes, indeed. That's just a pack of bullshit. I can't put it any other way. I said I was not going to interject my feelings, but that's not my feelings. That is just telling you exactly what it is, or what it was that Johan is saying. It is just a pack of rubbish. And bear with me for 30 seconds, I'm going to wrap the video up. If you look at what he said right there, that was what was said the previous window, that we are going to in summer. When we close, we had issues. So if you know that all of those issues are evident going into the January window, you were supposed to be able to take care of some of those issues, and mainly you could have tried to get a goalkeeper, which you think Vicaria is not pulling his weight. We could get a striker or a winger, because we know what that position was, and we could have gotten another creative player in the midfield. Those are just glaring stuff that was out there. So we did not turn over every stone to try and fix those positions in this window. And therefore, the point I'm trying to make is that when you close the last summer window, you are supposed to analyze and assess the squad without injuries. We know Madison was not coming back. We know Kulusevski was not coming back. Lange got injured, so I could give you that we think we had enough strikers in terms of Moana being able to play there, Moana get injured later, and Richarlison. So we have a somewhat of a three-prong that we could have turned to. But in the midst of that, you have 120 days to see that what you thought of the window when you close on September 2nd has changed. It has changed because Madison wasn't coming back. Simmons was having a hard time. We did not have any creativity. So there were things that were affecting the team that needed to be addressed in January. All of those were not addressed. So if you're telling me that when you move from the summer to January and you did nothing, even though you had more problems in between December and October, and you never address any of them, then you are going to, in January, you're going to tell me that now that you see how many problems we have, at the end of the day, when you don't know where we are going to finish in the league and how attractive we are going to be to players, you're telling me what that plan is going to be for the future. And we have heard that too many times. And this is, for me, I'm trying to break it down and try to be reasonable. There are people who just said, I don't want to hear that bullshit right off the bat. There are things that I can understand that inhibited us from going out there and doing business. What should not prohibit us is a plan. And if you have that plan, and if you can show that the reason why the plan is not working and why you have to do adjustment to it, then I think as fans we can understand. But what you just said about having a plan for the summer window when we don't know what is going to happen, what about now? What about all the things that you saw from the summer window of last that takes you into the January window, the injuries, the lack of quality that needed to be addressed? Where was that? Where was that plan, that effort to fix that? Let players turn us down. You can predetermine that this is not going to be, even though I agree with you that UEFA has screwed the window over, right? The injuries has sabotaged us, but what is your plan? At the end of the day, you have to show that you who are paid to do that can adjust to what the needs of the days are. And we did none of that. So the window itself was a waste of time, to be honest with you. And so I'm saying to Lange, who I think I said before, my predisposition of him is that I don't think he's up to the task as a director of football. I don't want to even get into why Paratici is still there or what he has done that someone else could not have come in and assisted him. I don't know what Mackenzie is doing, and I have no idea what Vinay and Charrington does. So I'm clueless. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to say that in addressing the football man and the face of the football, not counting Frank, he is full of shit. Period. That's no emotions. So what he's saying and all the things that he's giving are just a bunch of excuses to tie us over. I don't care about what you said about there is no hold or prohibition on our spending, barring the rules and things that we have to stay in line with. You can't tell me you have money and you're not able to take a risk to go out there and get players that are going to make the squad better. While I do understand the impact of UEFA and having to play games when the window is open and other teams are not going to come to your aid, I still don't see the effort. And the reason why I said what I said at the outset, I'm going to finish the video with that. We have used that excuse when it never existed. And so now that the problem do exist, it's like crying wolf. And now that the problem does exist, we're using that and perch on it as our excuse for why we did not do well in the January window. And for that, I will leave it there. Leave a comment if you may. I'm DJ Paul for Tottenham HotSpur USA and the Rude Boy Sound. And as always, be good, walk good. Until next time, peace, and I am out of here. And come on, you Spurs.